Assalamu alaikum guys, I hope you're all doing great. Today is my first video in a series where I'll be going over the different types of levers available for arcade sticks, and we'll be discussing their specs and what differentiates them from one another. In this video, I'll be mostly focusing on the differences between the two most popular Korean levers available in the market currently, and why you should consider upgrading from the very popular Crown 309 NewHelpMe to the Knee Lever Neo, because this is one of the things that hasn't really been explored in reviews already available on YouTube. I would like to quickly thank IST Mall for sending this review copy of the Knee Lever Neo to me, and I will be adding their website link in the description below. But please note that although I've been given this review copy, there have been no notes given to me, and all opinions regarding this lever are my own. So let's get started. On this slide here, I've included the specs for both levers so that we can compare the parts, and I can give you my thoughts on how the differences affect the performance of the lever. The first thing you will notice that is different between both levers is the handle or the top of the lever. The Knee Lever Neo's top is a straight capsule top, which comes default in this deep red color, as you can see in the image above, while the NewHelpMe lever is equipped with a traditional bat top, which you can find in most Korean levers. Before I got this lever, I did not expect the shape of this bat top to make a difference in performance, but I have grown to really appreciate the uniform design. The way I grip my lever is I keep a tuck between the space of my middle finger and ring finger. Having the shaft be the same size allows me to make motions for quarter circle, Omen Thunder Godfist, electrics, and especially wave dashes much easier and pleasing during gameplay. I still think that the bat top is a pretty good top to have, but my preference now leans heavily towards the capsule top for the Knee Neo. The next part we have here is the shaft. In terms of performance, there is no difference between the two, but the Knee Lever Neo has a shaft cover pre-installed on it. This prevents rust and sweat marks from developing on the lever shaft itself. After using the NewHelpMe, which I've had for over a year, I did begin to notice that the shaft was stained due to these reasons. So if it doesn't bother you, that's fine, but personally for me, it does ruin the aesthetic of the stick a little bit. So I do appreciate them adding this on the shaft. Do note though that if you ride the gate with your inputs like I do, the shaft cover makes a lot of noise compared to other levers, which only make like the noise from the switches inside. So that could be something that you don't like. Personally, and this is just a personal preference, I don't mind it at all, but if you ever want to reduce the sound, the shaft cover is removable after you remove the top from the shaft. Now onto the silicone tension, which as you know is how the Korean levers gain their snappiness back to neutral. Both levers use similar medium to medium soft tension, which is recommended if you want to use these sticks or these levers for both 2D and 3D fighting games. So in terms of raw tension, there isn't much difference in either stick, but the reason why I put a plus sign next to the 32A tension of the Knee Lever Neo's grommet is because this lever uses a special grommet which slightly increases the tension as you increase the throw of the lever, and at max throw, the tension is higher than when you start moving the lever near the center of neutral. This is amazing for the overall performance of the lever because, as you know, especially for Mishima players like myself, especially when we're wave dashing, we need the lever to snap back to neutral as fast as possible to make our wave dashes more consistent, which I really like. The next part we have here is the bobbin, which is the part inside the grommet and where your shaft pushes through inside the lever. Depending on the tightness of the bobbin, the shaft and the top of the lever can allow or remove shaft spin. In the case of the Knee Lever Neo, the shaft can spin quite a bit. However, in the NewHelpMe, the shaft is locked tightly and barely moves if you put some effort into it. Now, shaft spin, just like the grommet tensions, is a bit of a personal preference, and it is up to you whether you want shaft spin or not. I personally like a little bit of spin as it allows me to roll my fingers a bit when doing the quarter circle motions, but some people think it throws them off their execution, so it is entirely up to you. The actuator is the part of the lever which basically determines how large the throw of a lever is and how big the corners are for your lever. To just explain briefly, throw is basically how much you can move the shaft before it registers an input. As you can see in both cases, the actuator sizes are very similar. However, the NewHelpMe gives you the option of 2 actuators in the box, so you can choose it according to your preference. Honestly, since I've used both levers, I've loved all 3 of these actuators when I tried them, as I like short throws and large corners, which the 16mm range actuators do. However, if you want to experiment with other actuators, the NewHelpMe takes the edge here, because the Neo actuator has a unique shape and you can't put in other actuators from other levers to try, as far as I know. In the NewHelpMe, however, you can experiment with different actuator sizes by buying them and inserting them into your stick, such as the 15.3mm actuator from the crazy Dongpa lever and other crown actuators, since the design is very similar. In terms of the switches used in each lever, we can see that they are made from the same company called Gersung. However, in the knee lever Neo, they use 3 A3KN switches for the left, right, and down directions, and an A3 switch for the up direction. The different switch is supposed to make it so you don't accidentally hit the up switch when doing quarter cycle forward motions with your stick, but honestly, and this is like personally for me, I don't feel a difference in weight when hitting the up switch and any other switch. However, the A3KN switches used in the knee lever Neo are exactly the same as the A3HM switches in the NewHelpMe lever when it comes to performance. The only difference, according to community consensus, is that the A3KN switches have more quality control for their switches compared to the A3HM, which I tend to agree with as well. Because the A3HM switches that came in my NewHelpMe were scratchy, and these scratchy switches, what they can do is they can slightly chew off through your actuator over time. However, if the quality control is alright, all these switches are the same. And having used other popular switches such as the Omron A5 and the Omron 3C26 switches, I can still say that these switches are fantastic and you will be happy with them. Another difference between the two levers regarding the switches is that the knee lever Neo has a switch plate installed underneath, while the NewHelpMe doesn't. A switch plate is just used to make sure that the switches installed below are leveled, which isn't really required in most cases. However, the good thing and the good quality of life improvement that they've added in the knee lever Neo switch plate is that it has marked the directions of each switch, so that you have an easy time installing the lever inside of your arcade stick and while inputting the 5-pin conversion harness on each switch. And finally, we have the gate of the lever. In most Korean levers, there is no gate, but the circular collar that guides the shaft in a circle, unlike Japanese levers that tend to have square or octagonal gates. This is the case in the NewHelpMe as well. However, the knee Neo does have a squircle gate at the bottom to help guide the inputs, especially the corner inputs of the lever. I love this addition as the squircle allows me to hit Thunder Godfist, Perfect Electrics, and other moves that require tight corner inputs with ease. Now that we have gone over the specifications, let me go over the pros and cons of both levers and which one you should purchase according to your situation. To be clear, both levers are fantastic and you will be satisfied with either choice. But I believe that even if you have a NewHelpMe on hand like I did, you will consider the knee Neo an upgrade. The pros of the knee Neo are that the build quality of the stick feels premium and well made. From the body to the mounting plate, and especially when it comes to the quality control regarding the switches, which is most important performance wise, the knee Neo definitely has an edge over the NewHelpMe. Another pro of the Neo is the different quality of life accessories that come with the stick that provide performance as well, that I've mentioned before, such as the capsule top, the special tension grommet, and the shaft cover. Technically, you could buy these separately and add these to your NewHelpMe lever later on, but the cost of getting these parts is about the same as the price difference between the Neo and the NewHelpMe. All of these quality of life and other parts result in an unparalleled performance which makes the lever an absolute joy to use. From Arslan Ash to Atif Butt to Lohai and even Nee himself, there is a reason why this is the pros lever of choice. Now let's get down to the cons of the knee Neo. The first one being obviously that it is very pricey. It is about twice the price of the NewHelpMe, which is $45, while this lever is $85. With the money you save up by buying a NewHelpMe, you can spend the extra money to tweak your lever according to your preferences by buying other parts to mod and try out, such as a different set of switches, different actuators, etc. However, if you know that this is the configuration you like, especially after trying the other levers and their parts, this price is worth it for the above mentioned pros. Another con that I should mention is that even though it can be mounted on any stick that has a Japanese or Korean lever mounting, the addition of the switch plate beneath makes the size of the knee Neo quite big depth-wise, and it won't fit all sticks. Sticks such as the Hori Fighting Stick Alpha are notorious for having a small size factor in which only a few Korean levers can fit in the case. So make sure that you have an arcade stick that can accommodate for a lever of this size. I have a Conva Obsidian which had no issues with fitting the Knee Neo inside. Now let's move over to the pros of the NewHelpMe lever. Pro number 1 being that since crown levers are very similar in design, the parts in them are quite interchangeable. This makes the NewHelpMe very mod friendly. If you want, you can change the top of the lever, the switches, the actuators, the bobbin, and of course the grommets. You can change the top and switches on the Neo too, but the Knee Neo overall isn't designed for modding, and switching the other parts is a hassle as you will never be sure what is compatible or not. So if you're looking to test several actuators, tension grommets and switches out, definitely get the NewHelpMe. If you are happy with the stock configuration on the NewHelpMe, that is when you can get the Knee Neo down the line. Pro number 2 for the NewHelpMe is that due to its standard size, it can fit in almost all arcade stick cases that come with your standard Sanwa JLF lever. So unlike the Knee Neo, this is also a good option if you use small form sticks such as the Canva Drone or the Canva Carbon. And the last pro for the NewHelpMe is that its price to performance ratio is absolutely fantastic. Due to the similar specs, I would say that it performs about 80 to 85% to how well the Knee Neo performs. So if you want to get into Korean levers, for example, and you want to save some money, definitely get the NewHelpMe as it will serve you well. On to the cons of the NewHelpMe. I have narrowed these down to 2 things. The first being quality control. Leaving the build quality of the body aside, the switches that come in this lever don't have a consistent quality and can either be the scratchy ones that mess with your actuator or the same performance-wise like the A3 cans installed in the Knee Lever Neo. However, if you have good luck, you can get a good batch straight out of the box. The second more important con is that due to its price range, naturally it won't have all the quality of life bells and whistles that the Knee Lever Neo has. If you use the NewHelpMe for a while, you will definitely wish that you had the shaft cover, the switch plate beneath the lever, as well as the capsule top, which helps in execution. Now that I've gone over the complete comparison of the Knee Neo and the NewHelpMe, I have added a couple of gameplay videos to showcase the execution you can expect with the Knee Neo. In this montage, I am trying to showcase wave dashes, multiple electric combos, Korean backdash, especially on back sway characters, and other clips where I am using lots of quarter circle forward and half circle moves. I'll let you judge how good it is. Before I leave, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more of these in the future. Enjoy.